true. I created Flavor of Love and Rock of Love and I Love New York, and continue to do a lot of reality television. And all the while, I know you guys talk a lot about business companies. The television business, or show business as they call it, it's still very much a business. So when you guys are looking and listening to these other people, again, we share a lot of the same similarities. First of all, I want to thank Jason for inviting me to speak to all of you this morning. I would also like to thank the Hispanic College Fund and Hispanic Youth Institute for all the great work they have done in the past and will continue to do in the future. It's a great event, and I'm lucky to be a part of it. When I got the call to speak, I had one question, and being that I'm in television, it's a question that I ask all the time in every meeting I'm in. Well, who am I speaking to? Who's my audience? And Jason said, well, it's a lot of inner city youth from underserved communities who are generally the first in their families to pursue college, many rising sophomores and juniors in high school. I was like, that's perfect. That is so perfect, because that is exactly when the planning and the strategizing and the building and collecting of tools starts. You guys might not think it. You think you're in high school now, once I get to college, I'm going to get serious. Once I graduate from college, I'm going to get serious. No, it starts now. And the fact that you guys are here and at this program, it's inspiring and it's exciting, because the work does start today for your guys' future. Let me ask you guys, how many of you are absolutely going to college? Everybody should raise their hand, right? That's why you're here. Let me ask, I'm going to offer you guys a deal. All right, I'm going to make you guys a deal. When all of you, because all of you are going to college, and all of you are going to graduate from college, and 15 years after you graduate from college, if you guys are willing to commit to your careers and the jobs for 15 years, you would have to give up most of your vacations, be underpaid, be overworked, sacrifice time with your friends and family, would never be allowed to quit. Even on the days you felt you couldn't even do it anymore, and you gave yourself a 15-year commitment after you graduated from college to your career. If you guys are willing to do that, I will pay you guys $200 million. Raise your hand. How many of you guys would take that deal? All right, well, hold that thought. I spoke once at the high school that I graduated, which was Mountain View High School in the city of Monte. The first thing the kids, everybody there wanted to know was, hey, how much money do you make? Hey, bro, what are you driving? And it's like, well, no, that's not what's important. You know, I'll tell you what. Let me tell you how I got to the place that I could afford the car that I'm driving and the famous people that I know. Let me tell you how I got there first and the work that I put into that before I tell you that part. Because I think about what to come up and speak with, and like the other speakers, I think the best thing to do is to share my story. In the end, after speaking with some of these high school kids, I would always get the other question that I always get was, how did a kid from El Monte get to do what I do? How did I get to go where so many of my friends ended up not going to college and taking jobs they could get right after high school? We all had dreams. We would all sit around in high school and talk about what we were going to do once we graduated from high school. We all had plans. But what was so different about me? Why did I get to be in the position that I am today? Is the question I would get a lot from the kids. In the end, almost all my friends were happy enough just to get good paying jobs after high school. Well, at least they thought they were good paying at the time. I was fortunate that both my parents were college graduates. My mom came from Durango, Mexico, and when she was 14 years old, and my dad got a Durango in here? All right, see? When I graduated, my mom would go on to get her master's and become a bilingual teacher, and later become a principal. My dad became very involved at the time with the Chicano movement, but he would also continue his education. He saw it the only real way he would be able to help other Latinos and to better their lives. He would go on to earn his PhD from USC, and as recently as of last year, he became the vice president of Cal State University of Fullerton. Thank you. Not going to college in my house was not really an option. My parents were living proof of what college could do, what a college education could do for you long term. But as much as my parents would talk to my friends about college and the long-term benefits that it would have for you and the options that it would create for you, it was hard for them to hear it because their parents were telling them about the great job that they had making $15, $18 an hour. And that seemed more gratifying and instant gratification for them. But I guarantee you, I know that for many of you, You will be the first to attend and graduate from college, but I guarantee you, you will not be the last. That's why it is that important for you guys to continue your pursuit of higher education. But the truth is, even with parents, the parents that I had, I was lucky enough to have them, I asked myself the very same question. How does a kid from El Monte in Mountain View High School get to be where I'm at? I was made it very clear to all of you that there isn't all that much special about me. I'm a regular guy who grew up in a regular town with regular friends, and the only difference maybe was that I loved watching television, probably more than the average person. But other than that, I've never been the smartest student in the classroom. I've never been the fastest guy on the team. I've never been the best looking in the room. Unless my mom was here, she'd argue otherwise. But all in all, not that different than you guys and all your friends. I figured I would tell you my story and would hopefully explain a little bit about how I got here and what tools I picked up on the way. Right before high school, all I wanted to do was become a dentist. And I don't even remember why. It's not like I personally knew a dentist or remember liking going to the dentist. I just remember wanting to be a dentist. And my mom would say, hey, mijo, you know being a dentist, it's not like being a doctor. And you sure you don't want to be a doctor? I was like, no, Mom, I want to be a dentist. And she's like, well, just so you know, you still have to go to college and you have to do as much schooling to be a dentist as to be a doctor. You sure you don't want to be a doctor? I was like, nope, I want to be a dentist. She's like, fine. She's like, just make sure that's what you really, really want and that you really, really love it, because you'll have to work incredibly hard at it. And I said, sure, all right. I said, wow, to really love it. I was like, what does that mean? I was like, it's having a hard enough time going through puberty and figuring out what it meant to really love something. Well, all I did know was that I loved two things for sure. It was the sport of wrestling and watching television. I went to Mountain View High School in El Monte, as I said, and was fortunate enough to have a regional occupational program in my city, better known as ROP. They were programs designed to teach job skills to students. In this case, it was for a local cable station, Group W Cable. And yes, I'm that old. It was before DirecTV and satellites. It was cable. They were starting up in El Monte, and they had offered a class. It said, learn how to make television. And I was like, that's interesting. I mean, I love television. I'll check it out. And when I went to look at it, I realized that it wasn't to learning how to make television sets, but actually how to make TV. The directing, writing, producing, camera technique, all that. I was like, wow, I can actually make television. I'm in. And just like that, wanting to become a dentist was out, and wanting to become in television was in. I didn't know what it meant to be in television. I didn't know if I could make a career out of it. All I knew is that I loved the idea and that I would be able to actually create something and make television. Early on in my career, I set a goal for myself that if I wasn't an executive producer by the time I was 30, I would hang it up and leave the business. With that as my goal, I started to climb the ladder and became an executive producer by the age of 29, 3 months before my 30th birthday. People would say, you're so lucky to have such success at a young age. And it would always bother me, and I would always wish I could answer with, I don't feel lucky, I feel exhausted. Because for the last 10 years since I got out of college, I've been working my butt off to get to this point. But I wouldn't say that. What I would tell them is, you know what I am? I am lucky. I am lucky that I found something I love to do. And I work harder at it than anybody. But finding what you love to do is only the first step. You must also have the right tools to achieve success. And that is why I'm so excited to be talking to you guys right now. Because this is where, like I said, this is where the planning starts and the building and the collecting of those tools. It might not seem like it, but this is definitely where it starts. I was fortunate enough to attend Cal State Fullerton on a wrestling scholarship. My senior year in high school at Mountain View, I was a state runner-up in the state of California in wrestling, and I finished 5th in the nation. And I was lucky enough to be recruited by colleges around the country. I chose Fullerton because it had, at the time, had the 4th largest communications program, and it was still in California. My high school was tiny in comparison to the other schools that I was competing against. I would look over my opponent's corner, and they were from these big high schools, and I never forget going to one of the high schools and seeing a swimming pool in the high school, and I was like, damn, that was crazy. And I would look over in my opponent's corner, and I would see multiple coaches. There was like 2 guys just talking to him, somebody taping him up, somebody giving him water, and in my corner, none other than Adam Delgado, My part-time wrestling coach, full-time maintenance man in my high school. Adam had never wrestled more than high school, and so that easily enough, neither of us had that much experience. But I tell you what he did know. He knew the greatest secret of all. He would tell me, Chris, ignore all that. If you go out there for 6 minutes, that's how long a wrestling match was, and you give that guy hell, you out-condition him, you outwork him, you will win.